After the huge disappointment of the end of the Italian Grand Prix that ended behind the safety car, there have been several debates on whether the rules should be changed. The safety car was called out after Daniel Ricciardo stopped on the track with not many laps left. However, many people have said that there was plenty of time for the car to be cleared and we could have at least got a last lap showdown. But we all know what happened the last time we had a final lap to decide the race. Many people believe that the new rules, such as a red flag in these situations, should happen, as it would give the fans at the track and the people at home an exciting end to a Grand Prix. Do you think the rules should be changed? Well, let's go and have a look. In Monza, Daniel Ricciardo DNF'd from the race due to an engine issue, and he stopped in an area that brought out the safety car. With a few laps left and some drivers on some very old tyres, it meant that a lot of teams brought their drivers in for brand new soft tyres. In this case, even some drivers would lose positions due to this. However, the race would not resume and the race would end behind the safety car, meaning that we did not have any more action, and some teams were very annoyed at this due to them losing points and positions. This, also rightly so, angered the Tifosi at the grandstand at Monza, who were booing after the race as if the race went to the green flag racing. Charles Leclerc, who was P2 behind Verstappen, would have a chance of overtaking Verstappen and winning Ferrari's home race. However, this was not the case, as the marshals could not clear Ricciardo's car quick enough and they had to get a crane onto the track to remove it safely. This made a lot of fans angry, as for the show of Formula 1, there should always be an end under green flag conditions, and the race should never end behind the safety car. The only real option that the race control is to bring out the red flag pretty early on from when the accident happened. This will mean that it will be a standing start and everyone will start from where they were when the red flag came out. This would also enable people to change their tyres and not to lose positions. The only issue with this is that the race control has to make this decision very quickly and not take time with it. Of course, another option that fans recommend would be to extend the race by a few laps, but that's not in the regulations, and it's highly unlikely that they will add this in the regulations for 2023. The only other possible option would be to clear the incident as quickly as possible and have one racing lap, but the last time that happened was in Abu Dhabi in 2021, and it was very controversial, but we will get into that very soon. But what do you think? Should the FIA bring out a red flag, or do you think ending the race behind the safety car was the right decision? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and make sure to leave a like while you're at it. However, even though many people at home or on the track, and even some drivers were very annoyed at the ending in Monza, it fully followed all of the relevant regulations. So clearly, there is nothing that the FIA should change going into next season, really, but there was a fallout from a lot of fans regarding that this should have happened at Abu Dhabi. If Michael Masi chose to finish the race under the safety car and not have one final racing lap that would have won the World Championship, there would still be uproar. Red Bull would have been as annoyed or even more annoyed as Mercedes, as they believed that there should have been one more racing lap. So if Masi did decide to end the race behind the safety car, there would still be a lot of hate towards him. People would spin it the other way and believe that Hamilton was robbed of his 8th World Championship. But if the race ended under the safety car, the rules would have been followed. Now, let's look into another option that could have happened at Abu Dhabi. Is that there should have been a red flag as soon as Latifi crashed, and we would have had a few laps to decide the championship, and both drivers would have been on brand new tyres. But again, this would have not made both sides happy, as Verstappen jumped Hamilton at the start of the red flag and won the race. Then Mercedes would have wanted the race to finish behind the safety car. So, going back to Abu Dhabi last year, there was no real option that would have pleased both fans and teams, if we are being honest. The only possible one that would have pleased both fans, which is impossible, is that if Latifi did not crash and the race ended with Lewis Hamilton being 13 plus seconds ahead of Max Verstappen. If we're all being honest, Hamilton deserved to win that race fair and square. He was miles ahead of Verstappen and deserved that win, and the championship would have been his. Abu Dhabi will always be in the minds of Formula 1 fans, in which the race was done in a very controversial way, and that cannot be changed now. The FIA made the relevant changes by changing certain rules. Now, the FIA came out and did a long investigation, and they found that it should have been handled very differently. But Verstappen has won that race and won the title, and the result will never be changed. What do you think of Abu Dhabi? Did Mazzi make the right decision? Or should the race finish differently, meaning that Lewis Hamilton would have won his record-breaking 8th World Championship? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Now, back onto Monza and the drama surrounding that whole race. It was not just the fans who were annoyed at the race control's decision not to have any more racing laps, but also the drivers were also confused about what had happened. The safety car for a long period of time was ahead of George Russell, who was in P3, and not ahead of Max Verstappen, who was in P1. Russell was told by his race engineer that he should overtake the safety car, but the safety car did not have the green light on top, meaning that you can overtake it. When finally the safety car let Russell and the rest of the drivers overtake it, they would have to do a lap of the track to get behind Leclerc and Verstappen, so the race did resume. It would have been in the right order. However, the amount of time that it took for Russell and the rest of the field to catch up to the leaders, Mercedes were very doubtful that the race would restart, with George Russell's race engineer Mosconi saying they only have 2 laps left. Very unlikely we'll go again. So clearly, from this point on, Mercedes believed that the race would finish under the safety car, which was good for them, as Russell was in P3 and Hamilton was in P5 after starting in P19. The problem that caused the race to end under safety cars was that Ricciardo's car, which had stopped on the track, had no drive, meaning marshals could not move it easily. This meant that the marshals had to get a crane on the track to retrieve the car off the track in the hope that racing will resume. Of course, this did not happen, and the race finished behind the safety car, which was a disappointment, but the FIA did follow the rules that are in place. So the FIA will more than likely not change the rules, and people will have to accept that the race may have to finish behind safety cars in some circumstances. Overall, even though ending the race behind the safety car was not good for the show of Formula 1 that they are pushing for, the FIA followed all the rules that they had to do. But what do you think? Was ending the race behind the safety car the right decision? And should the rules stay the same? Or should the race be finished behind racing laps and the rules should be changed so this does not happen again? Leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe to the video for more awesome Formula 1 content.